Nice night here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we have Cubs baseball. It's WGN Sports on My 50. Game 2 of a 3-game set. The Cubs come in 18-6, best record in Major League Baseball. And great to have you with us, Jim DeShays and Len Casper. The Cubs coming off a 7-2 win to start this season series. And as Chris Bosio calls him, the silent assassin, Jake Arrieta, will take the ball tonight.
Yeah, I think before his last start, I said he was like Voldemort to hitters in the National League. They dread facing Jake Arrieta. Perhaps his middle name should be Jake. The last time it happened, Arrieta, because every time he pitches, there's this whole litany of data and factoids that come out because he is doing so many things that are unprecedented. The comparisons to the great Bob Gibson and others. It's been absolutely historic what he's been able to do. Of course, the shutout in the wild card game here last year. He was 3-1 against the Pirates last year in the regular season. Counting the wild card, he had a 0.660 earned run average against his club.
Well, 5 starts in, he has won all 5, and this rivalry is heating up. Benches cleared in the wild card game last year, and things got a little chippy last night as well. Game 2 of this series coming up next. Baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda. Now at your Honda dealer. State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and start saving. Call your State Farm agent today or find one at statefarm.com. Mattress Firm, where we want you to sleep happy guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Nice night, cloudy, a little on the cool side, but no threat of rain. As the Cubs and the Pirates play game 2, and Cubs baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Joe Madden happy with the way his team has played. Some injuries here these last couple of days. Jason Hayward day-to-day with a sore right wrist, and you see the guy on the right giving Tim Fedorovich a high five. Matt Caesar goes to the disabled list. Ryan Kalish, the guy behind him, has replaced him on the active roster. More on that a little later. Well, a bad break for a guy who was playing really well and earning more playing time.
Yeah, it came at a very bad time for him. Deemed a mild strain, so hopefully it's just the 15-day DL and nothing beyond that for Caesar. He was proven to be a very valuable asset off the bench, and when giving a chance to start, he had some nice games. A little power, hit that big grand slam, the ability to bunt for a hit, speed guy, good defender. So yeah, it just needs to take some time, rest up, heal up, and get back after it. Now an opportunity for Ryan Kalish to come up. I don't know how much Joe will use him, but he's a good story. Didn't play at all last year. He's had all kinds of injury problems throughout his career, and he finds himself back in the big leagues.
Meanwhile, the Pirates have lost back-to-back games after winning 6 in a row, and it's still early, but they're 4 games behind the Cubs for the division lead in the National League Central. They would love to make the playoffs and not be stuck in that 1-game wild card. But they may not have a choice. We'll see. A long way to go as fans are headed across the Roberto Clemente Bridge and into the ballpark. Left-hander John Neese, acquired from the Mets over the winter for Neil Walker, will face this Cubs Southwest starting lineup. Dexter Fowler leads the majors in on-base percentage. He leads it off. Jorge Soler bats second in left. Chris Bryant's going to play right. Anthony Rizzo at first. A couple of doubles last night. Ben Zobrist at second, batting fifth. Javier Baez had a good game last night. He came off the bench, had 2 hits, played stellar defense. Addison Russell is at short. Tim Fedorovich, the catcher. Remember, he caught Clayton Kershaw in LA, so he gets a chance to catch Jake Arrieta here tonight.
And the Buccos are aligned thusly this evening. Gregory Polanco is going to move from right to left, make his second start this year out in left field to allow Matt Joyce to get in the lineup. He's a left-handed hitter. Clint Hurdle wants as many left-handed bats as possible against Arrieta, so he'll patrol right. Andrew McCutcheon's in center. Freese, Mercer, Rodriguez, Jaso, third to first. Francisco Cervelli is behind the plate tonight. And the veteran left-hander Jonathan Neese, over from the Mets in a trade for Neil Walker, will make his 6th start, 3-0, despite a 5.08 earned run average. The Pirates have won all 5 of his starts to this point. League bats .292 against him. More of a finesse style left-hander. Fastball, slider, curve, and change. He is 3-6 with a 4.76 earned run average in his career against the Cubs.
Ben May will work the home plate. Jeff Nelson, the crew chief, is down at first. Doug Eddings at second, and Laz Diaz is over at third. Nice night for baseball.
It's lovely.
Dexter Fowler reached base 3 times to lead off an inning last night, and he takes strike 1. .61 degrees. We were at 60 last night, but we had that threat of rain and a little drizzly early on in the game. Not so tonight. 2 strikes. The pitch. 1-2. That was a straight up 1-for-1 deal. You don't see a ton of those these days, do you? Neil Walker or John Neese. No cash involved, no minor league players, no players to be named later. Bounce toward right and a base hit. Fowler starts an inning by reaching yet again. 4th time already in the series.
He has been an on-base machine. It's been so much fun to watch. Now, usually he's just crushing the ball. This one not hit all that sharply, but certainly well placed, and it's a leadoff knock for Fowler.
Jorge Soler hitting second for the 17th time in his career. Mostly middle of the order so far, and that should be an easy double play ball, and it is. They go around the horn, 5 to 4 to 3, starting with David Freese.
And one of the challenges for Soler, and he hasn't had a lot of playing time lately, is to be patient, make sure the game comes to him, so to speak. Nothing wrong with swinging at the first pitch, but that's always a tough go for a player, especially a young player who's lost out on playing time and get a little overly anxious. Hit it sharply, but unlike Fowler, his aim wasn't as good.
Chris Bryant played left last night. He's in right tonight. And he's working on an 8-game hitting streak. They've got 3 guys between second and third on the infield. They're shading him to pull not only on the infield but the outfield as well. You don't really need a spray chart. Just look at the defense to know where Chris Bryant normally hits the ball against a left-hander. Got 5 guys over there on the left side.
Yeah, he might have to go a little play action. Try to beat that defense.
And of course he grounds to third and Freeze throws him out. So that went fast after the leadoff single. Jake Arrieta eliminated the Pirates last October in the wild card game, and he's back to the mound here at PNC next. Jake Arrieta's last 18 regular season starts. The Pirates line up this way offensively. Jaso at the top. McCutchen a homer, 2 RBIs last night. David Freeze a nice pickup during spring training. Matt Joyce signed to a minor league deal also late in the offseason. Cervelli the catcher. Polanco plays left. No Starling Marte. Rodriguez and Mercer the double play combo ahead of the pitcher Neese.
Cubs defensively. Soler out there in left tonight. Fowler center. Chris Bryant slides over to play right field. Baez gets a start at third. Russell Zobers Rizzo round out the infield. Tim Fedorovich behind the plate. In our Blue Cross Blue Shield starting pitcher for the Cubs is Jake Arrieta. Choose Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, the card to carry through it all.
And a first pitch strike is in there on the outside corner. It was October 7th, 2015. Complete game, 5-hit shutout, no walks, 11 strikeouts, 113 pitches, and that sent the Cubs to St. Louis for the NLDS.
We're counting that wild card game, 6 starts against the Pirates last year for Jake, and he allowed a total of 3 earned runs in those 6 ball games.
Working with Fedorovich for the first time in the regular season. As David Ross caught Jason Hamill last night, and he gets John Lester tomorrow. 2 balls and a strike on Jaso. That wide open stance. 3-1.
Jake last time out failed to go 6 innings for the first time in forever. Went 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 run. He walked 4, struck out 6. That was in that 7-2 win against the Brewers.
Ball 4 and a leadoff walk.
The fastball command was off a little bit in that start. Jaso, a patient hitter, willing to take a walk.
McCutchen off to a slow start. These numbers will likely be where they usually are, which be a lot better than his .228 average coming in. He homered, knocked in 2 last night. Short lead by Jaso, and Arrieta's first pitch is off the plate inside on a fastball. Arrieta 5-0 in April with an ERA of 1. National League Pitcher of the Month for a record 3rd consecutive month. According to Elias, only 6 other pitchers won 5 games in April with an ERA of 1 or lower. And whenever we mention Walter Johnson, you know it's a good list.
Well, Randy Johnson's on that list as well.
Yes. Fernando Valenzuela, big unit, Cliff Lee, Zach Greinke, and Ubaldo Jimenez did it in 2010.
Yeah, well, remember Ubaldo went off that year.
A win tonight for Jake. He would be the first Cub starter to win his first 6 assignments in a season since Mordecai Brown in 1908.
Well, falling behind McCutchen here. I thought the second pitch was a pretty good pitch. Didn't get the call. I also thought one of the balls to Jaso was missed by Ben May, but you got to deal with it.
If McCutchen will have the green light here. I'm sure he does. And he takes it. 3-1.
Now, right-handed hitters batting .080 against Jake. 6 hits in 81 at bats.
He's walked the first 2 of the ball game.
Final that slider down a little bit below the knees, but a couple pitches in that sequence. At least one of them should have been called. That was not. So, you know, he's a strikeout guy. He's also a ground ball pitcher. He's got a high ground ball rate, and that's exactly what he needs here. And Freese hits the ball on the ground a lot.
David Freese hitting .364 at home this season. Playing third, batting third. 2 on, nobody out. And a strike.
That's the key. Get the jump on him. Well, here's another statistical factoid that'll get your attention. After going 0-1 on opposing batters, they're hitting .086 against him.
Curve missed. 1-1. It's a patient group. They lead the majors in on base percentage ahead of the Cubs. Pirates at .373. Pirates as a franchise have led the majors in on base average 3 times ever. Most previously in 1966. 1-2. And when I say ever, that goes back to the 1880s.
Yeah, they've been playing for a long time with these franchises. So here's where you want to get that rollover ground ball if you can.
Swing and a miss. That's out number 1. Here's Matt Joyce, who's put up some good numbers against Arrieta, although 7 for 14 and a homer. As impressive as it sounds, they all came when he was with Tampa Bay against the Baltimore Orioles. Jake Arrieta.
Yeah, it's a different guy.
So he's facing him for the first time in 3 full years. Joyce has been very good off the Pirates bench here early, and he cuts and misses for strike 1.
Really late on that heater.
Baez way off the line at third as Jaso takes his lead at second, and a strike called. Wonder if the Pirates might get aggressive here with their base runners. I don't know how many chances you're going to have against Arrieta.
Yeah, you know, as Clint Hurdle made out his lineup tonight, he probably contemplated a couple things. Try to get as many left-handed bats in there as possible, or turn loose the running game.
0-2 on the ground. Zobrist to Russell at second. So Rizzo and Zobrist got together. That forced Arrieta over to first to cover, but the throw went to the next base. So first and third with 2 outs.
Good decision there by Russell not to try to make a play at first base. I don't think there was a play to be made, and an errant throw there gives the Pirates a cheap run. But just to finish the point at Hurdle, so he's either got to go, try to load up with left-handed bats or turn loose the running game. His best base stealers are on the bench tonight, though, because of getting Joyce in there. He took Marte out of the lineup.
Josh Harrison can
Harrison's
run.
Yeah, the other. Those are the 2 best base stealers on their club.
Ball 1 on Francisco Cervelli. Arrieta's 30 years old, 6'4", 225. Makes his offseason home in Texas. 2-0. Between the 2 of us, Jake and I eat 3 to 4 pounds of kale a day.
And you don't eat any.
Well, that's a technicality. He's going to get out of this jam here. He walked the first 2, and the Pirates do not score. You had to break bad on me there. Thanks. After an inning.
You can't eat 3 pounds of kale.
No way. If you'd like to manage the game along with Joe Madden, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. Cubs blue in the stands. Looks like we've got a bigger crowd here tonight than last night. Nice work by Jake Arrieta after walking the first two hitters to get out of that inning. And as Nice faces Rizzo and a strike called. Anthony just 2 out of 17 against the left-hander in his career.
And 083 so far for Riz against left-handed pitching this year. Asked for time, didn't get it. Had to take his medicine. He's working quickly. Cubs has a team batting just .218 against left-handed pitching this year.
Nice with the 0-2, and it hits Rizzo.
That was kind of a funky at bat, wasn't it?
Rizzo did not flinch a bit. So that is the 4th time he's been hit this season. He got plunked 30 times, club record last year. And now it's Ben Zobrist. Batting right-handed, and he takes a strike. So he got hit last night. It certainly appeared to be purposeful on the part of Kyle Lobstein in the first pitch of the 7th inning. Warnings were issued. Ground ball, fair to left. It's going to hit that little wall that juts out. Polanco will retrieve. The throw to second is late. Second and third, nobody out. I hope Rizzo's all right. Okay, that left foot is where he got hit.
Yeah,
so let's hope it's nothing more than that.
Hopefully just a little residual pain there.
Baez on the sneak attack on the bunt and missed it. Cubs losing Miguel Montero recently to the DL. Matt Caesar went on the shelf today. Jason Hayward day to day with the wrist.
Baez had a nice game off the bench last night.
Rizzo toward the plate. The throw goes to first. Cubs lead 1-0 on the Baez RBI groundout.
Some positive things from Baez with his plate approach lately. A willingness to cut down on that swing a little bit, and a couple knocks off the bench last night. Made a real nice tag play and a stolen base attempt at second base.
Zobrist at second, 1 out. Here's Addison Russell. Both these starters have gotten pretty good run support, Nice and Arrieta.
Arrieta hasn't needed it a whole lot.
No. Nice is 3-0 with an ERA of over 5. He's given up some runs while ahead by a bunch.
Well, his last 2 starts, he allowed 4 in 5 1/3 innings, and then 5 in 5 innings. But that was at Arizona and then at Colorado. Not that you can't pitch low-run games in those ballparks, but you know, most pitchers at the end of the year, when you look at their game log, their worst outings are usually in Colorado, and if not Colorado, Arizona's a prime candidate.
2-2. He's given up 7 homers in his first 5 starts combined. 6'3", 215 from Defiance, Ohio. Jonathan Joseph Neese as he walks Russell.
Yeah, we've been talking about Russell here lately and the improvement in his approach at the plate. The strikeout rate going way down, the walk rate going way up. I was talking with John Maley about that earlier today, and he said, yeah, he's just, you know, they made a mechanical adjustment last year. They added the leg kick, so he stays back better on breaking balls. He's not chasing. He's forcing pitchers into the zone. And even though the batting average is not where he would like it to be right now, Maley feels like it's just a matter of time because of that good, solid approach.
Second start for Tim Fedorovich. And low for ball one. Tim made his major league debut as a Dodger in 2011. Originally came through the Red Sox system. Outside, good eye, 2-1.
Fedorovich's approach in this at bat, you would think, would be middle away. Try to make sure he gets the ball airborne. Stay inside the ball. You're much more likely to hit it in the air.
Drafted in 08 by Boston out of University of North Carolina, and then trade deadline in 2011 sent to Seattle, and then immediately shipped to the Dodgers on the same day. That's a strike, 3-2.
Yeah, that's a good take, though. You don't want, I mean, that's just a perfect pitcher's pitch, a 3-1 changeup on the outside corner.
Runners on the move. No, they actually stopped, and that's ball four. And Zobrist acted like he was going to take off for third and then hit the brakes. They're loaded up.
Well, last night Garrett Cole pitched for the Pirates. He's their ace. He was a 19-game winner last year. The Cubs did to him what they've done to so many starting pitchers this year, and that is get him out of the game early. He lasted 4 2/3, and in those 4 2/3 he threw 105 pitches.
Arrieta lines into center, a base hit. Zobrist will score. They're still loaded, and it's 2-0 as the Cubs pitching staff continues to contribute with a bat. And the Cubs love the bases loaded. These two teams have had the bases loaded more than any other clubs in baseball.
Just get over breaking ball from Neese. That works against a lot of guys, and it's going to work against most pitchers, but Arrieta jumps him. Third RBI of the year for Jake. Solid line drive single, and an early visit here for Ray Searage, the pitching coach.
So this will be, this next plate appearance, the 43rd of the year for the Cubs with the bases loaded. They'll pass the Pirates, who've come up with 3 on 42 times for the major league lead. So 2-0. RBIs by Baez and Arrieta, and Fowler takes ball one as the runners hold. I like that bottom of the order magic, right? Russell, Fedorovich, each walking, and then the 9-hitter, the pitcher, with a base hit.
Meese comes from a little bit of a low three-quarter arm angle, and it gets a little natural cutting action in on the right-handed hitters. And the ability to turn that changeup over, sink it down and away, it's a real good combination for him, and go east and west. He can go soft, obviously, with a good changeup. Think about the starts he had with the Mets against the Cubs. You think of a guy who, a 4-pitch pitcher, would throw any pitch in any count. So far with the Pirates, he's backed off his curveball and his changeup. I don't know if that's by design, if it's just a philosophical thing, or just the nature of the teams he has pitched against in the scouting report.
Fowler strikes out. Second out of the inning. First strikeout for Meese, who pitched out of the Mets bullpen in the postseason last year, including a 1-batter relief appearance against the Cubs in Game 2 of the NLCS. Pitched in 4 games in the World Series, all in relief.
Big chance here for Soler.
Yep. Change up low and outside.
First pitch swinging last time, bounced into a double play. He's got a chance to inflict some damage. It's really big too, because on my scorecard I inadvertently scored Addison Russell, so
could do you a solid here. This will be caught by the right fielder Joyce, and JD will have to get out the whiteout. But the Cubs get 2, and they have an early lead, 2-0 in the second.
Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. The blog is sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent. He's been serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, join Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Hey, good to see Jim Tianis on the left from our WGN home crew. Joey Carzoli, they're here covering the Stanley Cup playoffs. An off night tonight. Penguins beat the Caps last night, just across the river.
Florida Gulf Coast, is that what that sweatshirt was?
I didn't look.
FGCU.
1-0 on Gregory Polanco, playing left. Normally is in right. 2-0 Cubs. Pitch. Bounced foul. So, knowing what happened last night, and we don't know if warnings were issued before the game tonight, or not, but I'm sure the umpires are on high alert. If the game plan is to pitch in, you do what you do.
You got to pitch. Yeah, you got to forget about all the nonsense that took place last night and just go out and play your game.
That's a strike.
It's fitting that the teams are wearing black and blue here tonight after that. You know, and that's the weird thing about last night was, you know, Russell got hit. I don't think it was intentional. Marte got hit. I know that wasn't intentional. But the final one, when Zobrist got hit on the backside by Lobstein, that looked nothing but intentional, and it seemed so out of. You know, it wasn't part. You know, there was. I don't think anybody was really worked up earlier in the game with the hit batsman. It was just, you know, just playing the game. And I don't know for sure, but my sense is that again it was Lobstein just kind of taking matters into his own hands as a new guy on this team, trying to, you know, curry favor in his own clubhouse. I don't know, but so Marte gets hit all the time, and this is just an inside fastball. It's unfortunate, hit him in the hand, and then ultimately this is the last one where, you know, and when it's back there, that looks intentional. And that got Joe all worked up. You see Laz Diaz doing his best to just kind of quiet things down.
Yeah, he did a good job. Zobrist gets Polanco. Yeah, Joe had fun with it after the game with the media. He said, you got to let it out sometimes. Well, Sean Rodriguez was right in the middle of all that nonsense during the wild card game last year, and he actually was already out of the game. One of the little interesting details is that he started that game at first base and never got a plate appearance as he drills one out into the alley. So the Pirates have their first hit. Yeah, he was pinch hit for in the bottom of the third because they were trailing 3-0. He got right in the middle there, and he actually took a swat at David Ross. He was the only player ejected, and then he took out his frustrations on the Gatorade jug.
Yeah, kind of a little Rocky Balboa there on the Gatorade. There's a lot of things you can punch, but a cooler like that's tough on the knuckles.
He looked like he was waiting at one point for it to punch back.
Yeah, he was kind of bobbing.
Song just gets you pumped up.
Yeah.
Ground ball, Baez, Zobrist, Rizzo, double play, inning over. Should we do Eye of the Tiger to break again? Can we do it?
Recue the band.
2-0 Cubs. Is brought to you by State Farm. Combine your car and home insurance with State Farm and save. Find an agent at statefarm.com. Chris Bryant. Cubs leading 2-0. That double play started by Javier Baez. Talking with Joe in his office today. He joked, can a utility guy win a Gold Glove? That'll get in, and Bryant extends his hit streak to 9.
That's a great question. It's never happened, but the guy played enough to deserve. Yeah, you could. You know, that should be. There should be a, like in the NBA, they have a 6-man award, right? That'd be a new award they should give out.
I suppose he could win the Platinum Glove as the best defender regardless of position, but that usually goes to a guy who's already won the Gold Glove. Rizzo pops it up. Looks like Freese in his room, and he does for the out.
Chicagoland viewers, it's time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999. Do it now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to a Subway restaurant in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
And Joe Madden calls Zorilla. Stands in. Double and a run in the second, and he pops it up. Rodriguez makes the catch.
You could name that award the Zobrist Award.
Yeah. Hey, Cub fans, let's go. You do not have to wait until summer to enjoy your Fridays. Kick off the weekends with your favorite team. Tickets are still available. There's some Friday matchups, including our May 6th game this week against the Nationals and May 13th against these Pirates. Get your tickets at Cubs.com now. That gets away. It'll be a wild pitch. Bryant round second. He'll hold there.
Cubs scored a run on a wild pitch in the game last night. They also scored on a double steal attempt with runners on first and third when Pirates failed to execute. Stole what, 3 or 4 bases in that game last night.
And base running was really good. Definitely had an impact. Nice play, Rodriguez, and he gets Baez, and that'll end the inning. Rodriguez, a super utility guy. He can play just about anywhere on the diamond. 2-0 Cubs. Underway here in the bottom of the third. 1 ball, no strikes. And the pitcher, John Neese, make it 1-1. There is a Fielding Bible multi-position award. Thanks to Matthew Trueblood from Baseball Prospectus for tweeting us that information. One and two. After Neese, it'll be Jaso and McCutchen.
He's going to handle the bat. 222 so far this year, 2 out of 9, 156 for his career. Not great, but better than most pitchers.
Heard Neese on with Greg Brown on the Pirates radio pregame show today, and he said as a visiting player this was always his favorite ballpark. And I think if you did take a poll of all major league players, at least National League players who come here a lot, as he takes a call third, that PNC Park would rate very highly, especially for pitchers. Hey, Cubs destinations travel packages include tickets, hotel accommodations, ballpark tours, Cubs swag, and a private meet and greet with a current player. And this season's destinations, and I did not plan this.
This is pretty good, yeah.
Including stops in Pittsburgh and Chicago. For more information, Cubs.com/travel. So right on cue, you can come to Pittsburgh to see the Cubs.
Stay downtown, walk across the Clemente Bridge.
Yeah.
Downtown Pittsburgh has stepped up their game in recent years. Pretty good eating options.
Now they frame the skyline across the river beautifully. Ground ball, little backhand by Russell, and he makes the play.
What else can we tell you about Jake? Well, 16 consecutive wins going back to his last loss. That's tied for the longest such streak by a starter in Cubs history. Rick Sutcliffe did it in '84-'85. We can surpass that here tonight. Cubs have won his last 18 regular season starts. That's a franchise record.
(21-1) his last 25, so that's back to June 21st. I mean, we're just a few weeks away from June. We're going to we'll start talking about the last calendar year kind of stuff.
Did not like the location of that one.
1-1 on McCutchen. I forwarded to you Joe Sheehan's recent newsletter.
I saw that, yes.
Talking about this historic run Arrieta has made. One of kind of the asides in the piece as he was singing Arrieta's praises was how good Clayton Kershaw has been during this stretch and completely overlooked because of Arrieta.
Well, because Kershaw was already that guy, and Arrieta has become that guy. So
you're saying like the firstborn, and then the baby comes along.
Yeah,
about 2 or 3 going, "Hey, mom!"
He's kind of stealing the headlines a little bit, but yeah, Kershaw's flipping along doing his thing.
Hopefully we see an Arrieta Kershaw matchup at some point this season. 2-0 Cubs after 3. we've got our Cubs fan cam a little later on tonight. You can tweet us your Cubs selfies at hashtag WGNCubs for possible inclusion in our fan cam segment, which will also include a musical announcement a little later. 2-0 Cubs lead. Both their runs in the second. 1-1 on Russell. He walked in the second. A hit by a pitch, stole a base, scored a run last night. And now 2-1. Shout out to big time Cub fan Philly Gialuisi. Cheering on the Cubs tonight. Wanted to say hi to his wife Patricia. Ball 4.
Is that patient approach by Russell? The leadoff man has been on every inning so far.
There's Fedorovich. Normally, think about a bunt. You do have the pitcher though on deck. So that's the other hand, and then if you had a third hand, you'd go butt. Arrieta with an RBI single in the second.
I think more likely to see a hit and run play, maybe.
Okay.
If the count dictates.
Does swing away. That's deep to right, and it's going to be off the wall. Good read by Russell. Already around second. He will make third. It's a double for Fedorovich.
Yeah, we talked to Joe Madden about Fedorovich, and he's a guy with a reputation of being a very good defender, catch and throw guy, calls a good game, he's a very good receiver and all that. And Joe continues to say, yeah, but he can swing it a little bit too. And he was impressive in spring training. He's hitting the ball with authority out in Arizona. Here he gets a center cut fastball, drives it the other way, just misses knocking it out of here, high off that fence out there in right field, the Clemente wall. Arrieta with a chance to help his cause yet again.
Infield not all the way into the edge of the grass, but in several steps, and a big swing and a miss by Arrieta.
Yeah, with Arrieta pitching, they just can't afford to concede anything here.
Lexus Run Predictor brought to you by your Chicago area Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. Pirates pitching staff's been very good at not allowing a run in this spot. Here's Arrieta, his first time up. Line shot to center to drive in Zobrist.
Yeah, with nobody out, Russell will not be going on contact here.
Swing and a miss for the first out.
Definitely won't be going on no contact. But perhaps now with one out he will be. And that will draw the Pirate infield all the way in.
Fowler struck out with the bases loaded. And one out in the second. He singled to start the game. Cubs, I would say, had to settle for 2 in the second. He could have had a bunch more. And anything less than 1 run here in this 4th inning would be considered a big disappointment.
Yeah, this becomes a critical at bat because the infield's in, so much easier to hit that ball through the infield. Sac fly gets the job done. Always, this is where you feel like you got to get it done. It puts a lot of pressure on the next guy if this guy doesn't at least put it in play.
High fastball. It's 2-2. Walk, double, strikeout. Ahead of Fowler here in this 4th inning. The pitch gets away. Russell on his way to the plate. He will score. Second wild pitch of the game from Nice, and it's 3-0.
That changeup down, the last thing he wants to do is hang that thing up in the zone, and it's on Cervelli to block that one and control it. He couldn't do it. Cubs get a cheap run.
Infield still in. Fedorovich now at third. Ball 4 to Fowler.
Take. Frustrating night so far for Jorge. Bounced into a double play first time up, flew out to right with the bases loaded to end the second.
3 out of his last 31 now. And a base hit. Cracked his bat. He'll pick up an RBI as Fedorovich scores 4-0.
He will gladly trade that piece of lumber for an RBI single.
Well, it's 4-0. That was the score of the wild card game behind Jake Arrieta.
Happy birthday to Ryan Dempster.
How old's Ryan?
Ryan, well, he was born in '77.
39?
39.
Happy 39, Demp.
What's the name of that town in Canada he's from? Seashelt or something like that?
I'll take a look in a minute. That's deep. And off the glove of McCutchen. Fowler is in. Everybody had to wait. And it is a long single. That is a home run in many, many ballparks. 5-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's the longest single that Chris Bryant has ever hit, and likely will be the longest single he will ever hit as a major leaguer. This into the north side notch, 410 feet out there. A spirited effort by McCutchen. He can't quite haul it in.
So they've broken it wide open as Ray Searage out for the second time here in the first 4 innings. Ryan Dempster's hometown is Gibsons, British Columbia.
He's all time on the Major League winning list for Canadian-born pitchers behind Ferguson Jenkins.
2 walks, 3 hits, 3 runs. Swing and a miss by Rizzo.
I'm not going to say that that play should have been made by McCutchen, but certainly could have been made. Bryant with a 2-hit game. 408-foot single.
Keep coming back to the word relentless. This offense, when it's clicking, and it has clicked a lot here these first 25 games. Perspective is often needed. We talk to a lot of people who say, boy, if the offense could just get it going. And I'm like, well, they're leading the majors in runs, so they're doing okay. There is room for improvement, but
Yeah,
You're not going to have everybody.
You might see some guys start to hit for a little higher average, things of that nature. But yeah, tough to sustain 6+ runs per game over the course of the season. So if anything, in terms of run scoring, you expect to see a bit of a regression. Didn't have to be.
3-2. I guess, in other words, if you say, well, what we've seen here the first month, if that continues, would you take it? The answer is a resounding yes. Yes, I would. Rizzo with a base hit. Soler will score. Bryant to third. He will stop there. Rizzo's got his third double of the series. 6-0.
And the Jake Arrieta conversion meter feels like 10-0. Boy, yeah, he hit 2 rockets for doubles, did Rizzo in the ball game last night.
Still only 1 out. I remember saying a few minutes ago anything less than a run would be a disappointment. And the Cubs have put up 4 here in the 4th. Zobrist strikes out, 2 gone, and Baez will be the 9th batter of the inning.
The Budweiser patio offers fans an all-inclusive Budweiser bleacher experience in prime home run territory. Down the right field line, this outdoor semi-private space opens 2 hours prior to the game and is perfect for corporate outings, client events, and family gatherings. Cubs.com/premier for information. Bumgarner's having a good year.
0-1 to Baez.
So coming into play tonight, 31% of Cubs walks have come around to score. 2 so far tonight.
4 walks, 2 runs tonight, so 50% tonight. Yeah. We count the hit by pitch. Not technically, but we could.
Good.
That guy scored. Rizzo in the
there
second.
It is, graphically presented to you. Just the Texas Rangers in that regard. Of course, Cubs have walked a lot more than the Rangers. They walked more than anybody in baseball. The last time I checked, they were on a record pace in terms of their walk rate. It was like 13.5% of their plate appearances resulted in a free pass. And it's not really free, it's earned. Plate discipline, smart approach.
You see Baez pull the Luis Valbuena there? He pointed at Jeff Nelson on the check swing.
The check, yeah.
Watch this. What did you think?
Did I go? Just looking for some feedback here.
Come on, Jeff. Tell him I didn't swing.
It's like he's calling him out before you even think about calling that.
2-2 hit on the ground to Mercer. Cubs get 4 in the 4th, and they lead 6-0. Cubs leading 6-0. Beat the Pirates 7-2 last night. David Freese takes ball one. Three base runners for the Pirates. Back-to-back walks to start it in the first. A one-out single by Rodriguez in the second.
And we've seen Jake at times frustrated out there, kind of chirping at himself, not happy with his fastball command. And we've seen it a couple times already this year where he hasn't been at his best, but still delivered, including in his no-hitter, especially early on in that ball game. The command was off. You know you got it going on when you're less than best. It's still way above average.
So he pitched the shutout in the wild card game last year. He made one start in the next two series. Game 3 against St. Louis, and he got the win, although he gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3. Freese strikes out. Cubs baseball is brought to you by Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. Game 2 of the championship series in New York. He lost the game 4-1. In 5 innings, gave up 4 runs. And, there's no sense in reading too much into what happened those final 2 starts. But he had sprinted past his previous career high in innings pitched. He got a lot of emotion and adrenaline in the postseason. And it's very possible, too, after that wild card game. I mean, think of all the pressure that he had to feel going into that one-and-done scenario. I don't think it's terribly surprising that he wasn't quite as sharp the next couple times out.
Yep, absolutely. He just ran out of gas a little bit with all the innings. And again, yeah, as you mentioned, all the emotion, pitching under that much pressure.
Joyce fouls off. He signed as a minor league free agent on February 20th. Rough year with the Angels last year. Hit just 174 in 93 games. Missed time with a concussion. He's found himself a nice spot here in Pittsburgh. Rizzo scoops and steps on the bag. 2 outs.
Cub fans, join the Cubs season ticket holder waiting list. Do it today. Claim your spot in our lineup for season tickets. It's easy. Registration is free. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list. Da-da-da-da-da.
Cervelli with 2 outs.
Yeah, the bad news for the Pirates here is he's starting to get the feel for that breaking pitch now. He's throwing that slider curveball combination for strike 1, and then he goes to work after that. It's hang with him for the hitters.
Nothing fancy there. Just a good fastball right down the middle.
And big ballpark, you can afford to make some mistakes here out over the plate, especially with a 6-0 lead.
He went. And the inning is over, including the double play ball. It's 8 in a row now, set down by Arrieta with a 6-0 lead after 4. Is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. Cubs won last night to improve to 6-0 following a loss. They still have not dropped back-to-back games this season. Trying to start another winning streak tonight. Best 24 game start since 1907. Russell with a fly ball to right, and it's Joyce to make the catch. Time now for our Cubs fan cam. That's Liz Fair, and she is going to headline Hot Stove Cool Music, our 5th annual event at Metro on Clark, right across from the ballpark, on Friday night, June 17th. Pirates are in town that weekend, so it'll be after the 1:20 start on Friday. Tickets go on sale this Friday, May 6th at noon. There's a base hit. Tim Fedorovich, a walk, a double, and now a single, and he's catching a shutout.
Have a night.
Pretty good night. We will have Liz, we'll have J.C. Brooks in the Uptown Sound, avid dancer. We'll have the Chicago and Boston All-Stars. Anthony Rizzo plays piano. I'm going to try to get him up there, play something. Was he playing training?
Drops at Jupiter in spring training.
Spring training. He sounded great. He's taking lessons.
Peter Gammon's going to play again.
Peter's going to play. Yep. It's an event he started about 15 years ago in Boston. We'll get Theo up there. It is a fun night. Joel Murray, WXRT's Lynn Bramer. They will MC the event. And everybody leaves with a smile on their face. MetroChicago.com for tickets starting Friday at noon. 3-0 on Arrieta.
I think Arrieta was looking into the dugout to see if he could get a green light. He was looking for some kind of approval to hack here. He got it.
I think he did that in his last start.
Yeah, he did.
Whether he had approval or not. 3-2. And he walks.
I don't know how much longer he can stay with Nice here. Clint Hurdle, he knows his chances of winning this game are very, very slim at this point. Trying to limit the amount of work his bullpen has to do here tonight with the day game coming tomorrow. It's, in all likelihood, will be in a position of just trying to salvage one out of this 3-game set. John Lester, Juan Nicasio set to pitch here tomorrow afternoon, 12:35. First pitch here in Pittsburgh.
The 0-1 to Fowler is tapped foul. 0-2. Cubs' next opponent after that game tomorrow will be the Washington Nationals. That's a 4-game series starting Thursday night at Wrigley Field, and Nationals embarking on what appeared to be on paper a very difficult 10-game road trip, but they have not lost. They swept the Cardinals over the weekend. They beat the Royals last night 2-0, and they lead with a first-inning run tonight. Backhanded Rodriguez, throw to first in time to get Fowler. 2 outs. Runners at second and third. And let's check out the Ford upcoming schedule, brought to you by Ford, inviting you to visit your local Ford store or localfordstores.com.
Yeah, Nationals off to a great start after a disappointing year last year. Their pitching has led the way. They have a major league best 221 earned run average.
Ball 1 to Soler. Here's a pitch. Sharply hit, diving stop. Rodriguez. He's had a night defensively. It's 6-0. It could be 8-0 if that ball gets by him. And is Joe going to look for a possible review? Let's see how it looked to us. And it looked like he got his foot back in time. He will not challenge, and the inning is over. Recue the music. 6-0 Cubs. arm. It's been a great start for second baseman Chesney Young in his first action at Double-A with Tennessee. He has been named the Southern League Player of the Month, leading the league in hits and batting average. 14th round pick of the Cubs out of Mercer University in 2014. 23 years old. So congratulations to Martin Chesney Young.
Chesaroo.
Wilson Contreras for the Triple-A Cubs hit his first homer of the year last night. He's batting .353.
Chesney Young hit .320 last season. A couple stops. South Bend and Myrtle Beach.
Two strikes on Gregory Polanco. You know, when you experience things over and over again, similar things, you start to expect them.
Yeah.
And I really find myself trying to fight that idea with Jake Arrieta. He's shutting out a good Pirates offense here into the bottom of the 5th inning. And it has become the norm for him.
Yeah, I'm in straight take it for granted mode right now. I just assuming it's going to breeze through it every 5 days. It's just been remarkable. Pirates' best chance came in the first as he walked the first 2 men he faced. He cleaned that up and he's dominated since. And the command has gotten better the last couple of innings.
Two and two.
Polanco, a young player on the rise, former top prospect as a minor leaguer. There was a lot of anticipation a couple years back when he first came to the big leagues. Had some bumps along the way, showed marked improvement in the second half last year, and he's off to a good start this season. A little shorter, more compact stroke.
Well, being the backup quarterback in New England the past 10 years or so, you're probably not going to play much. Being a backup outfielder with the Pirates these days, probably similar.
Yeah. Be a lot of days hanging out in the dugout hoping for your chance.
Although I guess Brady's going to serve a suspension, right? So line drive, run down by Fowler. Use Wintrust Chicago Cubs debit card artwork. Oh, that was actually not for the air. Cubs fans, show your team pride with Cubs checking and an official. We're going to see that's what we're doing. We're showing that. With an official Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. The off-air instructions were to use that artwork that you just saw. Swing and a miss. Sean Rodriguez 1 for 1 and stellar defense.
Yeah, he's been flying all over that infield tonight. He has to be a Pirate. He just looks like a Pirate. He's meant to play for this team. Kind of like those guys.
It's like Viv Savage from Spinal Tap there on the right. Have a good time all the time. That's my philosophy, Marty.
Kind of a Chris Farley thing going on there too. Stay in school, kids.
SKUL. Two.
Rodriguez hitting the ball with authority here in the early going. He's got 4 home runs already. He's a strong guy. You watch him take BP. He hits some long bombs.
It's full. 3-2. Baez looks it in.
Yeah, so when he gains confidence in that cutter, and he can throw it full count, you can throw it behind in the count, and you can throw it off the plate to get a swing and miss. That's usually when it's a pretty good indication it's going to be a real tough night for the right-handed hitters. He didn't have that pitch first couple innings. He's got it now. Got the feel for it.
There is a coach in the Pirate dugout. I'm not sure who. You can pick him up on our field microphone. During every Pirate hitter's at bat, you can find out what the nicknames are. I thought he said, "Come on, Paulie." Polanco earlier. Last night it was Marty for Marte. It might be Chicago native Dave Jouse. Not quite sure. You hear that dugout chatter during a big league game. As Mercer grounds out, 3 consecutive 1-2-3 innings for Arrieta, cruising along, leading 6-0. Replay brought to you by Xfinity. Cubs in the 4th inning, adding to their lead as they put up 4. Speed replay brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. That, by the way, was a single for Chris Bryant.
And that was a double by Anthony Rizzo as he also lined into second. RBI, 2-base hit.
Jason Rogers is now playing third. Rodriguez moves to short. Freese goes to second. And A.J. Schugel is the new pitcher. As Bryant fouls away.
We saw Schugel briefly in the ball game last night, a third of an inning. Not a hit, had a strikeout. A little big league time with the Diamondbacks last year. And through 8 games this year, a 4.09 ERA. League bats .261 against him.
This is the first time David Freese has ever played second as a professional. Had never played second prior in the big leagues or previously in the minor leagues either. He's been a corner infielder. Inside 1-2.
We got Josh Harrison, who plays all over the infield. They got Jung Ho Gong coming back. So maybe the thinking is let's get Freese some innings out there at second base, see how get him comfortable out there, so that becomes an option.
Gong is a lot over on the left side of the infield, short third. And he was a big part of their team as a rookie last year. Gong hit .287 with 15 home runs in 126 games. Finished third in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yeah, out on a rehab assignment now as he continues to recover from that injury, the knee injury he sustained when Chris Coughlin took him out at second base.
All right, you ready for a little trivia?
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year trivia from last year. Okay, Chris Bryant won it, right?
Yep.
Unanimous choice in the National League. I mentioned Gong finished third. Can you name the second place and the fourth place finishers?
Second and
National
fourth.
League Rookie of the Year. Ground ball to the third baseman Rogers, 2 outs.
How about Matt Duffy?
Matt Duffy finished second. Good call. How about fourth?
So the chuckle tells me that
it's a tricky one.
Fourth rookie.
I will give you a
Noah
hint.
Syndergaard.
You're right. I was going to say it's a pitcher. Yeah, Thor finished fourth.
Yeah.
You're good.
Thanks.
Or you happen to just look it up.
No,
3 minutes ago.
I'm not above cheating, but that was just somehow I was able to recall who had good rookie years last year. He had the best.
Theoretically, I guess you could win that award more than once, right? Let's say you play 28 games and you hit 35 home runs. I mean, you hit 800 and you still qualify
the next year
for the following year. That'd be about the only way you could win the Rookie of the Year twice. Zobrist held. Always gives you a good at bat.
Unless there's something in the baseball writers' bylaws that say even though a player maybe still have his rookie eligibility, if he's won the award, he's no longer eligible to win the award. See, these are the kinds of conversations we have when Arrieta pitches, because he turns these games into routes.
Called strike 3 on a borderline offering from Schugel. First time the Cubs have gone down without a base runner in this one tonight. 6-0 in the 6th. Jason Rogers just came in to play third. And he leads off the Pirates' 6th inning. Former Milwaukee Brewer.
Yeah, if he got really popular here, he could have Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. That's where Fred Rogers is from. He's a Pittsburgh guy. His own cheering section out there in the stands. They'd all wear their cardigans and change their shoes before every game. We need to get a hold of the Pirate marketing department and run with this.
And they got rid of the neighborhood play. What's up with that?
Heater away.
You could do this with minor league guys. We already kind of know where everybody plays, but you just watch guys and their body types. We've talked about this before and guess their position. You'd say Rogers is either a catcher or a corner infielder. As a shortstop, Russell makes the play. Every once in a while, you'll see a 6'5", 6'6" guy and find out he is a catcher.
Well, you know, that's why there was a lot of speculation about Chris Bryant at third base. People just saw this big, tall kid and said, oh, he can't play third base. He's too tall. He's going to have to be an outfielder or a first baseman.
Yeah, he looks the part right there, doesn't he?
You know, scouts sometimes make that mistake, too. They'll just judge a guy based on his body type.
Jaso, an ex-catcher. Barehanded play. Baez, he's out. What a play.
And he is fun to watch play. That left side of the infield with Baez and Russell. My goodness. And a couple shortstops there. He had a long way to go on this one. He was playing well off the line. The ball skips on him, stays down. Nothing to it.
Rizzo didn't even have to stretch.
And see where he begins, and on a dead sprint under control, able to pick that ball up and sling it over there on the money.
McCutchen lifts to deep left. Soler on the warning track. He's got room, and the inning is over. Another 1, 2, 3 for Arrieta. Got some help from his third baseman with the defense. And we'll head to the 7th. Cubs lead 6-0. Make sure you start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Jake Arrieta usually grabs a headline when he's pitching. Cubs offense getting John Neese out of the game after he gave up 6 runs on 9 hits in 5 innings of work. We're now in the 7th.
For 3-3 groundouts. One of them brought a run home for Baez here tonight. A couple slick plays in the field. We'll turn it loose on 2-0.
Even at 2-2. Eric Johnson will start for the White Sox Thursday against the Red Sox, replacing left-hander John Danks. His White Sox career apparently has come to an end. Deep center, way back, caught right up against the chain link fence. Baez just missed one.
Yeah, he's so strong he had to reach for that ball a little bit. And look at the look on the face of McCutchen. I think he was surprised at the carry of that ball. Really got into that one. On Wednesday, May 25th, Kerry Wood will bring the heat. Sign up and get a chance to swing for the fences, competing for the Battle of the Bats Home Run Championship at Wrigley Field. It's your chance to step up to the plate for Chicago's kids and support the Wood Family Foundation and Cubs Charities. For details, CubsCharities.com.
Left by Rodriguez, who started the night at second, now playing short, and then he throws out Addison Russell. So it looks like Danks will be designated for assignment this week to make room for Eric Johnson.
And Johnson off to a good start this year, was really good last year. Good looking young pitching prospect. Hoping to fortify what has been a very good rotation.
Fedorovich has had a good night, down 0-2 this time. Orioles shortstop J.J. Hardy has a broken left foot. We're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. Orioles leading 4-1 over the Yankees tonight. Manny Machado is playing short. Schugel 6 up 6 down in his 2 relief innings, but his team trailing by a bunch. The silent assassin has allowed 1 hit through 6. Remember, he walked the first 2 men he faced tonight, and then retired the next 3. Gave up a single to Sean Rodriguez in the second, and a double play ball, and nothing since, not even a base runner. David Freese, who has struck out both times. David Freese has put together a nice career. Best known for his postseason 2011 for the world champion Cardinals, MVP of the NLCS and then the World Series. 21 RBIs in 18 games in that postseason. 5 homers. Game 6. Game tying 2-run triple in the ninth. And the game ending home run in the 11th against Texas.
The Rangers within one strike of winning it twice.
Yeah, and I think the triple right was over Nelson Cruz.
That's right.
In right field, just over his outstretched reach. Pounding ball, Baez. He gets to show off his arm.
Play the game, young man. Play the game.
Mazda replay cam. This is the play to get Jaso. The accuracy of the throw is remarkable.
Yeah, that much speed into that slow roller. And then so he shows you that, and he can show you how he can go down the line and make the strong throw across the diamond. He had a great tag out at second base last night.
Joyce 0 for 2. And all 3 outs have been on the ground. 3-1 that time. The other thing about Jake, you know, if you haven't seen him a lot, and he's had some big strikeout games, but it's not Clayton Kershaw-esque. He gets, as you said, a lot of outs on the ground.
56% ground ball rate coming into this start tonight. That's well above league average. His strikeout rate is well above league average too. So he's punching people out. He doesn't give up slugging. He's allowed 2 home runs all year. Tonight he's gotten 13 outs on the ground, 4 by strikeouts, only 3 outs in the air. I mean, ground ball outs are no more valuable than fly ball outs, other than you get double plays on ground balls. But
ground balls don't leave the yard.
Yeah, you're not giving up slugging if you're a pitcher who gets a lot of balls hit on the ground. You're going to give up some singles.
And you couple that with the Cubs defense that's gotten off to a great start. And that's why he's looking at 6 starts and 6 wins. Lined into left. The base hit. First hit since Rodriguez's single in the second.
Yeah, something for the Pirate fans to cheer about as they got their second hit of the night. 3-1 challenge fastball.
15 straight batters retired prior to that hit. And the single in the second, and then this one here in the seventh does make Joe's job a little easier tonight, not having to push that pitch count. Pirates trying to get on the board for the first time tonight, and our Lexus run predictor, they're about league average. Cubs pitching, though, very stingy with 2 outs and a runner on. It's brought to you by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer. Strike on the inside.
Yeah, he did. No, he didn't.
And I know it's no consolation for John Neese, who got knocked around tonight, but it may not have mattered who Clint Hurdle started. You almost feel like we're getting to the point where if you're the other manager, when you find out when Arrieta's pitching, you strategically try to avoid him with your best pitcher. Yeah. 7 runs, 1 inning won't cut it these days against Jake.
Yeah, and you know, normally you think with familiarity, the hitters would start to catch up to the pitchers. Once you've seen a guy over and over again, you get a sense how the ball comes out of his hand. You get a feel for what he likes to do in certain counts. But I don't think it's we haven't seen that with the Cardinals or the Reds or the Brewers, the Pirates, the teams that we see all the time within the division.
He struck him out to end the inning. First strikeout since the 4th, number 5 on the night. And he's still shutting them out on just 2 hits through 7. So it's time for a Mattress Firm Grade 8 stat of the game. Since May 3rd of last year, going back 1 calendar year, it's been the Cubs and the Pirates both winning over 100 games, just over a full season. And the Grade 8 stat of the game brought to you by Mattress Firm. We want you to sleep happy, guaranteed. Remember, if it's over 8, it's time to replace. Jake Arrieta, 7 shutout on 2 hits. And here's Ryan Kalish back with the Cubs for the 2nd time. And a really cool comeback story. He missed all of last year. Knee surgeries and wasn't able to play. Didn't know if he'd ever play again. Played winter ball in Puerto Rico. Had signed with an independent team, the Sioux City Explorers, but worked out for the Cubs. Got a minor league deal. We saw him come over from minor league camp for a few at bats during March, and here he is on the roster for Matt Caesar.
Yeah, it's a study in perseverance. And, he'd already missed a couple of years earlier in his career due to injuries. He's had all kinds of neck and shoulder issues. Good for him.
Lifted to right, deep but playable for Joyce. I remember a few years ago, Kalish had that neck surgery. Couple actually on his neck.
Yeah, he's been through a lot. It's still 28 years of age. He can still carve out a nice big league career for himself. Came up with the Red Sox back in 2010. 53 games that year, 36 the next.
Cutchin retires Fowler. Well, not much has gone right for the Pirates tonight, but A.J. Schugel has retired all 8.
Yeah, he's looked good here tonight.
Saved their bullpen. Be a quick inning for him. F9, F8, F8. Bottom 8. Cubs 6. Pittsburgh nothing.
Well, when coming to Wrigley Field, the Cubs suggest taking public transportation. The Cubs offer a free bike check. That's located by the Addison Red Line station. If you drive your car, the Cubs provide free remote parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. And for information, visit the A to Z guide at Cubs.com.
See the Cubs defensively there on the left as Kalish stays in and plays left field. And sinker baller Trevor Cahill deals ball one to Sean Rodriguez. Bottom of the 8th. Base hit, their 3rd of the night.
Second one for Rodriguez, who's had a nice game. Nice plays in the field, a couple of knocks. Yeah, Cahill at his best when he's got that sinker working down around the knees. He's elevated at times this year and paid the price for it. Still trying to hit his stride here on a 4.91 ERA into this game. It's been a little tough going for the bullpen guys because the starters have been so good. The work has not come with any real regularity for a lot of these guys. Been 4 or 5 days since Cahill's been out there. There are the numbers for the big right-hander. Looking for that ground ball.
Chris Stewart, backup catcher. Did I hear it come on, Stewie?
Stewie, yeah. The default position in the major league nickname is 2-syllable names get cut down to 1 with a Y on the end. So Stewart becomes Stewie.
And Cervi for Cervelli.
Yeah. And then 1-syllable last names, and then you add to those. Like Smith becomes Smitty, Jones becomes Jonesy. But not a lot of creativity. David Freese, you heard they were calling him Freezy.
Let's see if they can do it. Nope, they aren't going to get any. Ooh. A little bit of a tentative throw by Russell. And he'll be charged with the error. Don't want to open the door here.
The key to this play, look at the big secondary that Rodriguez gets and then the jump. He puts a lot of pressure and Russell has to hurry that throw. I don't think he ever got the handle on it. Looks like he had a change-up grip or something. And I think that's just, Rodriguez, the good base running, speeds up the clock a little bit for Russell.
So 1st and 3rd with nobody out. Jason Rogers. Cubs will gladly give up a run for another double play chance. Baseball is a game of paradoxes, and those tailor-made double play balls are usually hit harder than that last one was, and that allowed, as JD mentioned, Rodriguez to breathe down Zobrist's neck and create a little too much urgency there for Russell. Russell's thinking, hit another one at me. One, two. Swing and a miss. That's one.
Real nice change up there by Cahill. Gets a swing and miss there. Now if you can get that ground ball, you can get out of this inning unscathed. Dipping below the swing. Beautiful pitch.
Jason's walk-up music, Midnight Rambler by the Stones. I like it. One and one. Well, you'd prefer not to walk him here. You've got McCutchen on deck. And again, you don't want to give the Pirates any reason to believe they can sneak back into this game. Swinging bunt. Fedorovich will pick it up. And he gets his man at first with a run scoring. Cubs gladly take the exchange. It's 6-1.
And that's a pitch you needed to make. Just throw it over the plate, keep it down, try to get the ground ball.
So a runner at second, and it brings up McCutchen. The Cincinnati Reds bullpen has a chance to set a new major league record tonight. They would prefer not to. Their bullpen has allowed a run in each of their last 20 games. That tied the modern major league record set by the 2013 Rockies. They're tied at 1. The run was allowed by the starter Lamb. That is a dubious mark that you do not want to mess with. Jeff Samardzija pitching for the Giants. He's been good. 7 innings, 2 hits, and 1 run.
Giants currently at first place in the NL West, just a game above 500. Fairly mediocre NL West so far this year. Dodgers 500, the Rockies a game below. Diamondbacks, a lot of us expected them to be better this year. They're 3 games below 500, but just 2 games off the pace. Could be an interesting race out west this year.
Yeah, the big hitters right now in the middle of the country. Both Western divisions have been Cubs and the White Sox, Pirates. NL East has been good at the top. Swing and a miss. And the 8th inning is over. Pirates get 1. Cubs lead by 5 as we move to the 9th.
Check out the EMC Legend Suite located on the Nuveen Investment Suite level. Not only will your group enjoy a gourmet food and beverage package, they'll also receive a pregame tour and a visit from a former Cub player. That all happened during the ball game. You'll talk baseball, take photos, get autographs. You'll hear classic baseball stories. For more information, visit Cubs.com/premier.
New battery, Jared Hughes and Chris Stewart. Swing and a miss.
Just the second appearance of the year for Hughes. He was on the DL, strained lat. So far this year, that is what he's done. He's a good one. Big, tall righty, slings it up there. Good sink. Funky angles.
Line shot, base hit. Chris Bryant, third single of the night.
Pretty well locked in, isn't he?
Yep.
And boy, he was really good in this ballpark last year. He likes the vibe here in Pittsburgh. Had a .372 batting average in this ballpark prior to tonight. Today's the anniversary of Joe DiMaggio's debut. Got 3 hits. 1936, 7, somewhere in there. 39 maybe. Here's one you can stump your friends with at home, because most people don't know this one. Today's also the anniversary of the first ever matchup, starting pitching matchup between brothers. Happened in 1927. Care to hazard a guess?
2 pitching brothers.
Brothers in the late 20s. Yee! Man, he keeps hitting it hard.
That's going to roll to the wall. Bryant to third. Held there. Another 2-bagger for Rizzo. That's 4 in the series.
Yeah, man, he's just crushing the ball too. There's nothing cheap about any of his hits. He's not blooping them in. This is a big, wide ballpark here. You can get some cheap doubles in this yard, flared down either line, but that has not been the case for Rizzo in this series. He's just pinging it. Listen to that crack of the bat. Locked, loaded, and delivered. 5-run lead, but Cubs looking for more here.
The Dean brothers?
That's a tremendous guess. They came along a little later. It would be the Barnes brothers. Jesse and Virgil Barnes.
Okay.
Jesse beat Virgil while pitching for Brooklyn over the Giants.
Infield in. 0-1 to Zobrist is inside. Dizzy and Paul, right? Deans?
Yeah. And ironically, Archie Manning was watching that game. The brothers squared off.
Fly ball to center. Bryant ready to tag. McCutchen makes a catch. 7-1. Sac fly. Ben Zobrist. Figured you drop in a Wainer note. W-A-N-E-R, not W-E-H. Since we're in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, John Wainer currently works as a broadcaster, but yeah, the old Paul and Lloyd, Big Poison, Little Poison, the Wainer brothers.
There you go. Somebody tweeted at us earlier. The last double play turn, 3 guys with a Z in their last name. It was Baez to Zobrist to Rizzo. That's a good one to chew on.
Thinking about that the other day. This is a very Z-heavy club. Fedorovich.
Caesar.
Yeah. Ramirez. Hughes out there talking to himself. He's a high energy guy.
Rizzo's got to head back. I think he forgot how many outs there were, and he just beats the throw.
Yep. He must maybe either it came to him or he picked up Jonesy's. I'm guessing the latter.
Russell with 2 outs. So it's the minimalist zany suit trip. The rule is when you're in public, you've got to wear part of that suit. Joe's been wearing his tie when he's gone to get his morning coffee. I read that John Lackey got a $100 fine because he had a cowboy hat on, and Joe didn't know if it was part of the uniform or not. I haven't heard of anybody else though getting fined.
Yeah, I know. John Maley bought some funky sneakers for all the staff, so I think those guys, if they wear their sneakers, they're good.
I think Mr. Lackey can afford the $100 fine.
Well, likely go to a team party at the end of the year or charitable, maybe to Joe's charity. I don't know if these guys do a kangaroo court or not. I don't think they did one last year, but they could have some fun with that.
Gets by everybody. So we try to categorize everything that happens in this game, and it's sometimes fun, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it doesn't work. But does A.J. Schugel, what do we call that? A 3-inning, 3 up, 3 down with your team getting blasted. That's got to be something, right?
It's a good job.
Just a good
it's
job.
A way to go, yeah.
That's a bullpen
it's a bullpen
save.
Yeah.
Well, save kind of the connotation is you're leading and you save the game, but so maybe we need another
stat
term
for it. Yeah, because a hold, right, is only when you have a lead. You can't get a hold.
Tip of the cap, I guess, from relief pitchers everywhere to A.J. Schugel. Three and two.
I'm trying to think of an acronym for kept them right there, but it's just not coming to me.
Well, it comes down to quantity over quality when you're in that situation, and he happened to provide both. Even though it probably won't really matter in terms of this game, but it'll help the Pirates bullpen down the road. And that'll end the inning. Cubs get 1 on the Zobrist sac fly. Cubs looking to go 2-0 since they donned these gems. Underway, bottom of the ninth. Trevor Cahill still working against David Freese. 1-0 is tapped on the ground. Gives Baez another chance. He actually backhanded that ball. We've got a highlight reel of Javier Baez plays tonight.
He's having some fun playing the game. Yeah, he is not. He's not having any hits tonight. He's got an RBI ground out, but he has had an impact with what he's done in the field. There you see him break on that high chopper.
How did he backhand it? Like that. The accuracy of the throws has been most impressive. All right, Twitter responding to our AJ Schugel. I'll give him an SIIS, still in it somehow. An HRT held right there. How about a tourniquet? He stopped the bleeding.
I like the tourniquet. I like that one. I like the other ones too, but I'm really digging that tourniquet.
How about a salve? A salve, S-A-L-V-E, instead of a save. Rub into your wound. Good stuff. See his agent going. He had 3 tourniquets last year. What? A tourniquet. Ball 4. Joyce is on.
And Cahill out here for his second inning of work. He finished strongly with a punch out of McCutcheon. He had 2 strikeouts in the 8th. And I think good idea to get him a couple of innings at a time so he can throw more pitches, just get settled in a little bit more and start to develop feel.
Reds have allowed a run, the bullpen. They have set a new record, 21 in a row. They're down 2-1 in the 8th to the Giants.
No, not many tourniquets for the Reds bullpen this year. There's been a lot of arson, a lot of throwing gas on the fire.
Broken bat, bouncer, foul.
Baez plays the game with style. If he were a basketball player, right, he'd be that slick point guard with the behind the back passes and the no look.
Yep, the playmaker. Cahill to Rizzo, runner at second, 2 outs here in the 9th.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you have come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Now 2 outs in the 9th. We will not have time to actually devise what you have to do to get the tourniquet, but we'll think about it. Maybe get back to it later this week.
We'll send it up to the rules committee and see if they buy in.
I might go with 3 innings or more, regardless of how many runs you give up. Just 3 innings of relief, and maybe 2 innings, no runs, something like that. We'll see. yet filed the official paperwork. Still in the early stages. 1-1 to Polanco.
Whoever that is, whatever, if it's Dave Joust or whoever in the Pirates dugout, he continues to cheer on his guys under their final out here in the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, that's a good point. As coaches, they're paid to keep everybody up till the final out every night. Another broken bat. Cahill flips to Rizzo. Cubs win. Cubs win behind Jake Arrieta. 6 starts, 6 wins for Jake. And this one felt over early because of the offense and the way Jake was dealing.
Winning 6 starts to start the year. It's the first time that's happened for the Cubs since 1908 when Mordecai Brown did it. Yeah, when it was 2-0, you felt like, well, it's probably going to be a win here tonight. And then once they put that 4 spot on the board in the 4th inning, it was pretty much all she wrote as Arrieta dominant again here tonight. This Pittsburgh team, remember, this is a good hitting team. 287 team batting average coming into play here tonight. Some 30 points better than league average. Arrieta holds him to 2 hits in 7 innings.
They went 3 for 30 on the night. Smiles all around in blue. We'll be back.